Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Not every single thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do it.
Well, Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America. There is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
The long-simmering tension between Meghan McCain and Whoopi Goldberg has finally boiled over into a full-blown feud, with McCain effectively declaring their relationship over for good. The two co-hosts, who were never best friends and shared only a fragile professional bond, clashed viciously over COVID-19 vaccines. While a surface-level truce was eventually called, McCain's latest taunts make it abundantly clear their on-air partnership is irreparably broken. The cracks have become a chasm, the bad blood is real, and I have all the juicy details. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, because we're diving right in.
For the panel, what is the panel's reaction to Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that immigrants should behave like guests? Well, they're truncating that a little, but that is basically what he said. And he is, of course, an immigrant himself. He came here with nothing but a loincloth and a jar of protein powder, and look how far he got. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
I completely agree.
Bill Maher's public endorsement of Arnold Schwarzenegger during a recent appearance on The View has ignited his latest feud with co-host Whoopi Goldberg. The clash began when Schwarzenegger, a guest on the show, stated that immigrants should behave because, in his view, they are tourists in the United States. The comment immediately infuriated Goldberg, who found it to be profoundly patronizing and disrespectful to immigrant communities. A brief but fierce back and forth ensued between Goldberg and Schwarzenegger. Rather than remaining neutral, Maher, watching from the sidelines, publicly threw his support behind Schwarzenegger. He defended the remark, calling it a fair and reasonable observation. This endorsement was the spark that reignited the long-simmering tensions between Maher and Goldberg. She interpreted his support as validation of a tone that disparages immigrants, fueling a fresh wave of hostility. Maher's move didn't just create a moment of awkward television, it exposed the deep ideological rift between them, further fracturing an already fragile relationship.
Now a little bit, I think whenever you have a candidate like Kamala Harris that clearly was not the choice of the Democrat Party, when she got shoehorned into that space, and then you tried to roll out Megan Thee Stallion and Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, everybody was trying to say, hey, black men, let's vote for this now. I mean, it just really didn't work.
Well, most of them still did.
Well, one in three black men in the state of Texas voted for President Trump.
Okay, well, let's use men and in the state.
Well, I'm being very specific here because it does matter. We are seeing a seismic shift, and that's the most vote, the highest vote that we got in the Republican Party in the history.
No doubt about it. Trump did better with minorities across the board each time he ran.
Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg seems to believe she has uncovered a profound secret, suggesting that a focus on enforcing immigration law means one doesn't actually care about immigration. The sheer agony, she implies, of asking for law and order at the border. This ignores the recent history of failed policies, such as Vice President Kamala Harris's brief tenure as border czar, which saw a period of such catastrophic mismanagement that millions crossed illegally, treating the border less like a sovereign line and more like an open gate at a music festival. The consequence wasn't an influx of polite house guests, but a surge of drug trafficking, cartel violence, and gang activity, all enabled by a misguided bow of open arms tactic. Yet, Whoopi maintains that holding immigrants to any standard of accountability is inherently cruel. So, when Arnold Schwarzenegger dares to suggest that immigrants should comport themselves as dignified guests, and Bill Maher has the temerity to agree, it's treated as if the world is ending. Please. Maher's support for Schwarzenegger isn't controversial, it's common sense. It is a reasonable expectation that those who enter a country, by any means, should respect its laws and contribute to its society, not exploit its vulnerabilities. The real cruelty lies in the policies that fuel the very chaos that puts immigrants and citizens alike in danger.
It just made me think, I'm sure every single member of the Saturday Night Live cast was a Harris supporter. But what if one of them wasn't? What if one of those cast members was for Trump? Would they have felt comfortable saying so? I really don't think so. They would have had to keep it to themselves. That's not a good place for us to be. And I remember when Elon Musk hosted, and this is well before he was a Trumper. This is 3 or 4 years. He was just the richest man in the world. And a number of the cast members on Saturday Night Live, they didn't want to deal with him. And I was thinking, really? You have Elon Musk on your show for a week. You could talk even about this issue that bothers you so much, that he's so rich and lots of people aren't. But no, you don't want to even deal with him. That's what I hate about the left.
And Maher is absolutely right. The left, fueled by voices like Whoopi's, is increasingly hostile toward anyone who dares to dissent. By simply disagreeing with her, Schwarzenegger and Maher were immediately cast as the villains of the narrative. This is the central problem with the modern progressive movement. It loudly preaches tolerance and diversity, yet refuses to tolerate any diversity of thought. The moment you step outside its rigid ideological bubble, you are branded an enemy. There is no debate, no dialogue, only excommunication. Those with the audacity to rebel are shunned, humiliated, and canceled. It's a playbook we've all seen before: enforce conformity and punish independent thinking. For Maher to point this out isn't unfair, it is necessary. He is highlighting the profound intolerance that fester beneath the surface, and that is precisely what the left's gatekeepers cannot stand.
Harris would be the first woman president, first black woman president, and first Asian president. But I don't vote for who will be the first. I vote for who will win. And for whatever reason, Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no finger. Sometimes life isn't fair. It's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
Bill Maher did not hold back in his criticism of Whoopi Goldberg, confronting her with a harsh reality she seems unwilling to accept: that a Kamala Harris presidency, built upon her failed immigration record, would have been a disaster for the United States. Maher was blunt and brutally honest, holding nothing back as he laid out his case. He argued that Harris's history of capitulating to the radical left and her advocacy for lax border control would have only escalated chaos and severely jeopardized national security. But what truly ignited Maher's fury was Goldberg's unwavering support for the anti-IC movement in California and across the nation. To him, this was the final straw, an endorsement of a cause he sees as actively endangering both communities and law enforcement. This exchange was more than a simple disagreement. It was Maher decisively nailing shut the coffin on what he perceives as Goldberg's profound and dangerous political blind spot.
Whoopi Goldberg, who, by the way, I hope is still a friend, we can disagree with each other, should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Not every single thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do it.
Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
that's the problem in America.
But
there is one view,
right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
Despite their fierce rivalry, Bill Maher's approach remains fundamentally generous. Unlike many in his industry, he refuses to place the entirety of the blame on Whoopi Goldberg personally. However absurd or misguided he finds her claims, he staunchly defends her right to voice them. Maher stresses that dialogue and debate must never be suspended, even between those with deeply divergent and opposing opinions. This commitment to open discourse stands in stark contrast to Whoopi Goldberg's own methods. For years, she has leveraged the tools of cancellation to swiftly exclude, shame, and silence those who challenge her views. Herein lies the deeper divide. Maher champions the principle of free speech, even when it protects speech he despises, while Goldberg represents an impulse to control the conversation by silencing opposing voices. Ultimately, their conflict reveals a fundamental philosophical gap. Maher values the messy process of open communication, while Goldberg often thrives on the energy of selective outrage.
It's called The View.
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting? And I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
Well,
That's the problem in America.